Hello, everybody. I hope everyone is well, doing okay. We're doing really well here. I know that we're having a lot of devastating fires and tornadoes and just horrible weather all around the world. So today I'm here to take you away from that, and we're going to do this pretty little stone. It's a 3-inch by 1 3/4 inch rapid set cemental, and I'm using aloe as my base coat, and we're going to be using white, some sunflower, and plantation pine. I'm also going to be using a little magenta. So I usually just lay down a bunch of random guidelines, and today I decided to do it 1/4 inch. The next one is 1/2 of an inch, and then 3/4 of an inch, an inch, and so on. When I got down to the edge, I just laid my compass flat on the table and just drew some lines around the bottom just to give me something to guide me. With a 5 millimeter flat back crochet hook, I put a white dot right smack in the center there, and now I'm placing 8 little dots for my first row in white. My second row, I'm using the sunflower, and I'm placing a dot above and in between the white dots from the row below. The third row here, I'm using a tool. I'm not quite sure the size. It's 5 and 6, maybe millimeter. Now here I had a little yellow dot that kind of got away from me, and I have two options of how to clean it up. I can either wait for it to dry and then scrape it off and clean it up that way. Today I had enough room that I was able to go right back in with my paintbrush and scoop up the paint. And I came back and I just kind of mopped up the paint and cleaned up the whole area and then wiped it off on my paper towel. And I just kept going back and forth doing that until it was clean. And you can see here that I did touch that little yellow dot from the row below, so I do have to go back with my bristles and kind of nudge it back into place. I could have done the same thing by cleaning it up, but it's much easier and less messy to just kind of nudge it back in place. And once I have that done, I cleaned up the rest of the base there and laid back my dot and went about my business. Coming out to the next guideline, at the top of that yellow dot, every other one, I'm placing a series of little white dots. And I have one large dot on the top, and then I'm walking 3 down. If you can't get 3 there, if you can only get 2 or 4, it's fine. On the remaining 4 dots, yellow dots there, I'm just putting a small swoosh, again in the white. Now I'm coming back and I'm doing a second row of walk the dots just above the first set. Here on the other side where I had that first swoosh, I'm coming in and just putting another one down, making a little V pattern. The plantation pine, coming in between those 2 swooshes, and I'm just walking a little set of dots down from there. This is a tool that I picked up at the Dollar Tree, and I'm not quite sure the size, but all I'm doing is placing a series of dots to put them as evenly spaced as I can. I'm not very good at getting them evenly spaced, but I'm doing my best. So I put those green all the way around, and then I came back with the sunflower, and I put the first dot underneath and between the green, and then the second dot I just put it above. So what that did was give me the larger dot on the bottom and then a smaller yellow dot on the top. And then I walked away for a bit, and when I came back, I forgot to restart my camera, which is something that I do probably every single video. What I did was I just put a white dot in between each of the yellow on the bottom, and then with the small tool that I have there, you can see that I'm just barely touching the surface with the paint, and that's giving me that nice little dot that I want. And with the plantation pine, I'm again putting just a little dot underneath each of the sunflower. I never know what I'm going to do before I start doing it. So all of my designs and patterns are really done on the fly. So sometimes it may look like I'm going back and forth and I don't know what I'm doing. That's absolutely true. I don't know what I'm doing until I'm actually doing it. Here I have a little bit larger of a tool. Again, it's one of those Dollar Tree tools. And with the white, I'm putting an off-center top dot on those large sunflower ones facing towards the center. Those are going to draw your eye up and in towards the center. And it's actually going to look like a pretty little flower when we're done. So I'm putting a little of that dark green in between, and it's just giving it it's helping everything stand out a little. So now I have the aloe, which is the light green that we did the base in, and I'm doing again the off center top dot on the smaller of the sunflower and facing them towards the center. Okay, back with the dark green, the plantation pine. I'm just putting a little swish here. Now you can see that I'm going fairly quickly. I'm putting the dot down and I'm just pulling, and that's giving me a nice, very smooth little swoosh. I'm going the opposite direction. I'm just throwing in a couple of walked dots again in the plantation pine. Whatever fits, 2, 3, 4. It's up to you. Now with the sunflower, again, I'm putting a dot, and you can see I'm going a lot slower. I'm making sure that I have enough paint, placing my dot, and then just very slowly I'm dragging I had a little bit too much paint there, so I'm wiping it off, and I'm dragging it nice and slow, and it's giving me a longer swoosh. And that one was a little uneven, so I just used the tip of my tool and the top of the paint and just smoothed it out. If you press down too hard, it's going to make a mess, or you can wipe it off and start fresh. So now that I have my little collar of green and yellow and white and my design in the center, I did have this big open space, and I wasn't quite sure what I was going to do there. I didn't want to put another row of dots or anything. So what I decided was what I call little wispies. Walk the dots, but just kind of let them go random, and they look like little trails of smoke, little wispies, and they fill in a space just, I think, perfectly. I love doing these, and I just love the way they look. Now with the white and the fine tool, and I'm going slow here like I did with the yellow, but you can see that this swoosh is much thinner. So I'm doing a bunch of those off center top dots, and up the top I've done the aloe, then I have white on top of the aloe, and then on the white plantation pine. So you can see how it's already starting to really pull your eye in towards the center. Okay, now here I have a little more paint. I'm starting a little bit higher up. And when I'm pulling down, you can see that I'm getting a larger swoosh. Swooshes are a lot of fun. Once you get used to doing them, you can play with the size, play with the way they lay, how the form of them. They're just so much fun. Now I'm going to introduce a little color with this magenta, and I'm adding that right around the first row, surrounding the initial large dot in the center. And I'm also putting a little tiny white dot on the plantation pine. So I wanted to bring this little cluster together, and I thought the magenta would be just perfect. Those just needed to be a little bit larger. So I just went back on top of them with a little more paint, made them a little larger. Now I have very little paint, and I'm just dragging the tip of my tool down real quick and making that little tiny magenta swoosh. And I'm putting one on the opposite side, a little more paint, and you can see the effect that it's having. They're totally different, but yet the same. Okay, now on one of the outer bands there, this is a high stone. So if you're using the high stone like this one, that's 1 3/4 inches from top to bottom, um, this would be your middle row like here. If you're using one of the flatter stones, this could actually be your base, your actual bottom. After gathering together those 4 clusters of elements on the top with a nice white dot, I moved on to the magenta. As tiny as they were, I'm putting another off-center top dot in white. Now those are tiny. Those are very, very tiny. But like I was saying before, you can see how that's just pulling your eyes straight in. Okay, my top is nice and dry now. And on those large white dots that I put around that row there, I had gone in between off camera, obviously, and put some of the magenta dots in between. And when I got done, I looked at it and I wasn't really um, happy with that pink, so I came back in with the Plantation Pine. I just went straight over it, covered it up nicely. So I wanted a very simple little pattern here, so I decided to just walk 3 yellow dots, going to the left. So I started off at the top and I just walked them down to the green on each of the dots going around on that row, and the same thing, but going in the opposite direction, and it kinda stumped me for a bit. So, I had to think about that. Finally, I got it figured out, turned it around. I'm like, which way do I want it to go? Okay, I want it to go this way. So I'm starting on the bottom right there, and I'm going to walk up to the green. So they look like they're like making like a elongated S. Anyway, you can see it's a very, very simple thing to do. And I just think it's different. Um, yeah. So if this is your first time here, I hope you're enjoying what you're seeing. And if you haven't subscribed, please hit that subscribe button, give me a like, thumbs up, ring the bell so that when I put another video out, you'll be notified. If you want, you can choose not to be notified, but subscribing to the channel would be appreciated. Okay, so what I did here is I have the magenta and I decided to put the off-centered top dots, but I'm not facing them up towards the center. Instead, I put them to the right. When the stone is right side up, it's to the right. On the top, I just put little pink dots in between that white there. I just thought it needed to be finished off, and another row of green or yellow just wasn't going to make it for me. So with the magenta, I thought I just tied the top and the edge here together. And with the white, I put again another off-center top dot going in the same direction on the magenta edge all around. Now here's where I wish that my stone had been a little bit shorter, so I wouldn't have to do something down here. And instead of going simple and did something that I really struggle with, and that's painting um, straight lines and ribbons. Now, it looks like I've done it really quickly here. This actually took me a while. I don't know why I torture myself, but yeah, I did. So with the plantation pine, I just went in between a couple of rows and put myself a nice little ribbon of the green. And then with my aloe, I came back and I tried to straighten it out as best as I could. Um, Behind the scenes here, there's an awful lot of back and forth between the aloe and the plantation pine and straightening it out and flattening it out. And I had to go back and forth several times. So if you have to, don't think that I did that super quick because I didn't. So now I'm going on to Hologram. If you're not familiar with Hologram, it's one of the glitter paints. It goes on milky, looking like it's going to leave like a white background, but it doesn't. It dries clear and you just see the sparkle. Hologram has a little bit of a greenish tinge to it, so it picks up the color that's underneath and just shows it off really beautifully. Now on the white, I I kind of messed up there, so I have to clean that up. The toothpick, I'm just kind of picking that up. You don't want to leave the hologram. It does show, so I try to keep it as clean and in its borders where it belongs as much as possible. Yeah, I'm putting a hologram on the green, and I'm also going to put it on the yellow. If you can watch the top, you can see that the milkiness is starting to go away. And once it's dry, you'll see that it does have such a pretty shine. Unfortunately, on video, it doesn't show up as well as in person. I'm using Folk Art Pearl White Metallic. I'm starting by putting it straight up the top there. Try to get this as even and clean as I can. While I'm still up there, I will take that pearl white and with my toothpick go around and just top dot all of my little off-center top dots there. Moving down to the collar, I will be putting the pearl white on both rows of the white all the way around. You can see how the hologram is really beginning to dry up and you can see that little bit of glimmer there. It's just gorgeous. And continuing the hologram all along the edge on both the sunflower and the plantation green. You can see everything starting to come alive now. It's so pretty. You could also put the hologram on top of the pearl if you'd like. And on the off-center top dot that I have there, On the magenta, the white one, I'm actually putting a little dot of the pearl white because all of these elements are just so basic and so simple. Adding the pearl and the hologram just emphasizes the simplicity, and I think it's beautiful. Here I'm using the white and a fine brush, and I'm putting a little border around the top and the bottom. If you don't want to do and deal with all of this line stuff here, you can actually just go back with, say, a small tool and just dot some white or yellow right along the edge. And lastly, I have this Dragonfly glaze, and it's the blue, gold, green shift. It's just like a top coat, and you can see what it's going to do. It's just going to finish off that ribbon beautifully. And then finally, before we add our matte clear protective sealer, just go around and clean up any imperfections or any smudges that you might find. And that's it. Look at how that shines. Very simple. I think it's one of the prettiest that I've done yet, and I hope you like it. It's a very good beginner project. Please subscribe, leave your comments and questions below, thumbs up, share the videos, all of that good stuff. I really appreciate you. So until next time, be good, take care, and bye-bye.